Allman in the morning.
This climate agreement has been detrimental to the U.S. We are the only ones who have been following it. I think it's perfectly within our interest to pull out of it and adopt our own version.
FM News Talk
97.1.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
You're listening to The Mark Cox Show. Find everything Mark Cox at 971talk.com/Cox.
I thought a little Steven Tyler rendition of the national anthem was fitting here because we're talking about the sacred right of voting in this country, because nothing is more important, in my opinion. And today is the day that Missouri's new voter ID law goes into effect. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft is on the phone with us right now. Jay, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So June 1st, voter ID went into effect, and you and I have talked about this extensively, but I still think it's important that people who are listening understand exactly what it does and exactly what it doesn't. So let me have you hit the highlights.
Well, the biggest highlight I can give you, the most important thing for people to know is if you are a registered voter in the state of Missouri, you go to your polling place on Election Day, you can vote. This law does not change that. There are a lot of people that are trying to confuse and mislead voters, and we at the Secretary of State's office want you to know if you're registered to vote, you can, and your vote will count. And if you're not registered to vote, what's wrong with you? Give us a call. We'll get you registered.
Yeah, I've told you this before, and I know you guys had to kind of bend over backwards to write this so that it didn't end up in court somewhere and get overturned. But you almost had to go too far, in my opinion. I mean, to make sure that people can vote, even if they don't show up with a vote with an ID.
Yeah, if you don't have your photo ID, you can go ahead and use any of the IDs that you were allowed to use last year or the year before that or the year before that, going back farther than I can remember when the law was last changed, you can still vote. And if, as I jokingly say, if you're at the pool and you suddenly realize you've got 6 minutes to get to the polling location, and you arrive with your suntan lotion, your bathing suit, and your towel, you can still vote. You'll just sign using your signature on your provisional ballot, and the local election authority will verify your signature the same way they do with initiative petitions and referendums. Either way you do it, your vote will count if you're a registered voter.
Well, good. Well, I mean, just so at this point, people have plenty of time to go in and get an ID. And I guess they can go into any driver's license bureau and pick one up?
They can go to the fee offices. They can call us up. They can go to one of the Department of Revenue main places to get help. Wherever they go like that, there are people that we're helping people today to get their IDs, and we're happy to do that. But what I want to reiterate, you've heard me say it so many times you're tired of it, even if you don't have that photo ID, if you're a registered voter, you can still vote.
Yeah, well, and hopefully people are paying attention, and they're not going to be surprised. I'm sure you're going to get the word out a lot between now and the next time we're actually voting on something here in Missouri. When is that next election? Is it August? Is there an August election?
July. There's an election in St. Louis City. The mayor won, so she had to vacate her seat, so there's a special election for that. And then we have about 53 counties across the state that have elections in August. And actually, we're sending out one of our directors of elections to each one of those counties to meet personally with the county clerk to make sure they know how to run their election with the new rules to make sure everything goes smoothly.
There's a website you can go to if you have questions, showit2vote.com.
We use the number 2.
The number 2vote.com. So if you have any questions, you can go to the Secretary of State's got this special website set up that answers all those questions and tells you where to go if you need to, if you have questions, or where you get a free photo ID and all that good stuff. So that's fantastic. You're going to be on tour across the state right now, correct?
Next week, Monday, we're starting our tour across the state, about 25 different stops to make sure people are informed about the new photo ID law, and then we'll be doing day trips and other stops really throughout the year. I have personally wrote a letter, and then hand-delivered letters to the members of the legislature, the state senators, and the state reps, asking them to set aside one day to be with me in their district, making sure their constituents are getting registered and know that they can vote.
Yeah, that's good. If I can talk about some other voting issues real quick. Did you see the story out of Virginia yesterday?
Was that the one about people that shouldn't have been registered, felons and others voting?
Yeah, well, a voter integrity group found that over close to 2,000 illegal immigrants had voted in parts of Virginia elections, and as many as 5,000 were registered to vote, non-citizens, and self-reported themselves apparently to the government. Is this indicative, you think, of a bigger problem across the country?
We know that people vote illegally. We know that people try to cheat. We know that people do it intentionally. We know that people do it accidentally. It happens across the country. We've had cases in Missouri, and it's only right that we protect the ballot box and we go looking for those issues to make sure it doesn't happen. No one in this state has told me they don't want their vote to count. And when we let people illegally vote, they cancel out the votes of good, hardworking Missourians that are registered and vote.
And we've also, I've asked you this question maybe in a different way, but is there any move afoot on the part of secretaries of state around the country to get together and address this issue of cleaning up the voter rolls like they've tried to do in Ohio? I think the Supreme Court's going to end up ruling on that case, and making sure that they've got the people who are legally able to vote are the only ones voting.
You know, there definitely are, but unfortunately there are individuals that don't care about that.
Yeah.
I had a presentation by an organization that helps to clean up voter rolls and also helps to get citizens registered to vote. And during their presentation, they said, some of our secretaries of state, they don't like the integrity part, but they like the registration part. I think that's deplorable. We should all be for integrity and making sure that every resident, every citizen of this state has the right opportunity to vote.
Yeah, I'm not sure quite what your goal would be if you didn't want to clean up the voter rolls to the greatest extent possible. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I think you're being polite. I think you know what their goal is.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I'm probably being too polite about it, that's for sure.